It still baffles me to think that this game is over 6 years old. That's right, over 6 years. And during this time, it's had some very bad times, especially when the first year of the game's running. It wasn't the most ideal game. It took a long time for people to get an idea of parrying, proper blocking, the game being optimized for a lot of devices, which, let's face it, it's not really. But the main thing is how champions improved and how they've got better as the years have gone on. From 2019, it seems to be that there's been a better idea of what champions are and how champions are put into the game. Okay, fine. Apart from Terex, Airwalker, Moleman, and a whole host of other champions. But when it comes to design and as well the thoughtfulness about what champions are actually put in, that's a key thing. And this is why I'm doing this video of my top picks and hopes and desires for champions in Marvel Contest of Champions in 2021. Now this year, without a shadow of a doubt, has released some of my favourite characters, not champions, characters. When I'm referring to the characters, Apocalypse, Professor Xavier, man, what? Professor Executive, man, I'm thinking of something else. To name but a few, and there are some others. Nova would be definitely among them, but he hasn't exactly been the best one added in. But Nova was definitely a character that I wanted, coupled with Apocalypse. Apocalypse is probably number one with a bullet right there. But Professor X is definitely high up there as a character I would have, I'd like to see. But yeah, there's still a lot more that I really want from this game. And that's why me and Wade here, we want to see a lot more in 2021. Including Beta Ray Bill with Stormbreaker. Not the Stormbreaker that everybody would like to see from Thor. I'm still very bitter about that, don't you think? Now we're going to kick off my top 8 champions that I'd like to see with one of my favourites that I've talked about for years. And it's been something, just to kind of increase and bring together the Asgardians of the contest, and as well 3 champions associated with Asgard, and Odin and Thor. This is the first one, and it's Odin Borson. Now, there's a lot to this character that meets the eye, but I think it just goes down to the power index and what this champion potential, or what abilities this champion would have potentially. And it could have everything. This is the quintessential god tier champion that should be built. I know you got your Hercules, but at the same time you got to give it to Odin to be the god tier, the god that we need, want and desire. Everything this character will have. The Odin force, longevity, regeneration, everything. This character should be there. God of wisdom, expert combatant, master tactician, Asgardian mystical combatant. There is so much for this, and even like there could be a weakness like the Odin sleep. So yeah, like that could be the same thing, the same way that Apocalypse, even though incredibly powerful as we've seen in the game, and as we can see what he does for others, he has to go into the I don't say it's like the rejuvenation chamber. Part of me wants to say it's the Lazarus, but I'm probably completely wrong. I'm probably thinking of Batman and Ra's al Ghul, the Lazarus pit. That's what I'm thinking of. That's why I'm going mad. It just makes perfect sense to have Odin put into the game, and it's one I've been pushing for a long time. Please, Command, make 2021 be the year of this character being put into game. Because the same can be said for Beta Ray Bill and how he factors into the story arc of Thor and expanding things that go on with him, with others. But I don't know if Kabam are waiting for potentially something to do with the films, and whether or not Beta Ray Bill will be part of that is still yet to be known. And the reason I feel so strongly about that is to silence a lot of this stuff about seeing this version of Thor being put into MCOC. And it just, for me, does not work. As I've said in the past, the problem that I largely have with the Stormbreaker version of Thor is because the battle axe, which it is more of a cross between what Mjolnir is with Yamborn, which is Thor's other piece of weaponry, which we're going to talk about in a minute. And as well, another Thor version that I want, but as well this whole thing about calling it Stormbreaker when in all actuality it's not Stormbreaker, as that Stormbreaker there, the golden hammer. But yes, people may point out that it actually in the Unworthy Thor does bear resemblance to this type of part axe, part hammer, but this is more of a shorter, stubbier type of piece of weaponry that's kind of part hammer, part axe, which is more of a hammer axe. Now there's also somewhat of a mystery around Beta Ray Bill, especially with the burning galaxy was destroyed through the machinations of Surtur and his fire demons. The surviving Corbinites decided to choose a champion whom they would follow to their home. That champion, known as Beta Ray Bill, was successful and was transformed into a cybernetic being resembling a fierce creature. So whether or not I could put something in game that is some elements of immunity would be great, but as well the whole kind of thing about how this became a worthy champion and how Beta Ray Bill became more than he was, and as well more for his people and more for the protection of people, the good, and being worthy is incredibly important. But I think it's just tying together the story arcs and closing the book on the Asgardians, which at the moment there's a good amount of Asgardians in the game, with Hela, with Heimdall, with Loki, etc., but it doesn't go further, and maybe we'll even get a new Loki next year. Who really knows? Next up, and as a lot of you know if you follow this channel, I have a very strong affiliation, well, not affiliation, a strong, I don't know, warming to the Unworthy Thor, and especially when it comes to the Destroyer arm. So if you're unfamiliar with it, you know, it does exactly what it says on the tin. It's an unworthy version of Thor. How he feels unworthy is largely stripped from several things, like he had his arm chopped off, and as well he is just sporting Yamborn, which is very different, and he's like very distant, very kind of like nomad like, and yeah, definitely feels like down on his luck. And this is great because it shows the weakness side of Thor, especially understanding his power, but at the same time wielding a different type of weapon, which puts him in a different direction. Yes, we've had that with the MCU with Chris Hemsworth's Thor having Stormbreaker, very different from Mjolnir, but this one goes a little bit further than that. Especially, it would be kind of good to know that if in Love and Thunder that he is then on his own, he's had his arm chopped off, and he's just really angry and becomes the king that he should be, if not the god he should be. Yes, he sort of learned that in Thor Ragnarok, but I think that he would go a step further in this, and especially looking at Avengers Endgame, where he was just considered more of a joke, like a joke character for most of the time. He doesn't retain a lot of his personal strengths, and that's the thing. I love Thor Ragnarok, and I love what Taika Waititi did with the comedic edge. It put a different spin, and it reinvigorated and excited the franchise. But I think it's now time for Thor to show his real strength in the MCU, and the same thing when it comes to the game. I want to see a proper god tier Thor being put in, and something like this for me would tick a lot of boxes. Also, if you're interested what Yamborn does that maybe Mjolnir doesn't, so a battle axe forged by dwarves that Thor wielded long before Mjolnir. Kang tricked Thor into placing an enchantment on Yamborn in order to pierce the armor of Celestials, or armor created using celestial technology. Man, that is cool, and that's another reason I'd like to kind of like see that, because this will be a very powerful battle axe. Now on to another character that I really do like, but I like for many different reasons. I feel that first of all, this would be a very challenging thing for Marvel Contest of Champions and Kabam to do, to have a character that's able to absorb powers of other creatures, maybe other mutants, maybe other types of champions. That is going to be up to Kabam how they put this in. But Legion is an incredibly, I think it's like it's not like a mega level, it's like beyond a mega level. I want to say I don't know if it's like alpha level. Whatever it is off the charts level of power. This is the son of Professor X, and it would mean that we would have literally just the god tieriest of mutants being put into Marvel Contest of Champions. Legion can absorb powers. He can be devastating, And yeah, we'd be in for some trouble if he was put in the game. See what I mean? The power grid, even I take this with a pinch of salt, but it's off the chain. Because one thing, and even there, like alpha level mutant, without even seeing it, oh man, like these are all the different personalities the character can absorb. Whether or not it's like personality 67, super strength and increased muscle mass. Personality 115, channel sound into energy blast. This would be the most challenging champion that Kabam could ever produce. And I don't know, I think this is probably the reason why we haven't seen it so prolifically in other types of Marvel games, because it would be incredibly powerful to absorb. Like, man, look at all the others. So like, personality 762, a pirate that appears to belch an acid gas. What? And it just like, it gets worse. Like a living voodoo doll. He blew himself up with a bomb and nearly killed Rogue in the process. One of the sub-personalities to escape from Legion's consciousness after the Age of X. And there's loads more, and it keeps on going. How Kabam could do this would be incredibly difficult, unless they put something in to say like, and again, I don't know. This would be the most challenging champion Kabam could ever create. And I don't know if we'd ever see this. I personally like to, but it's going to be so difficult to pinpoint the various personalities. Unless Kabam allowed you in a pre-fight ability to choose one of maybe, I don't know, 50 personalities, and essentially each time you're going into a fight, you're basically doing, I don't know, you've got the move set and all the abilities of, say, different champions. So I'd be like, okay, I'll choose Apocalypse in this time, I'll choose Blade, I'll choose Dark Spider, I'll choose Doctor Doom, and that's like how that maybe works. I don't call myself Doom specifically, but at least to say like, you know, you could pick and choose in pre-fight abilities different types of personalities. Man, that would be challenging. If Kabam could ever do it, that'd be amazing. Next up, a bit of a firm favourite of mine, and that's Misty Knight, a champion that I've wanted for a very long time. I do feel this would be a good opportunity this year to put it in, especially to tie in together. And this is one of the key things. I've always wanted to see a good tie between Iron Fist as well as Luke Cage, and potentially any other character that could be brought in with that whole kind of like universe with the Defenders, with other champions and characters associated. If you've seen the Iron Fist and Defenders TV series on Netflix, then you know that we could have some really kind of good linking together there with those characters and bring in some new synergies, revitalize and do that stuff. Misty Knight would be a great character to come in. Robot arm, it's kind of cool. Would it be a tech or a skill? I probably think this would be more of a skill, even though it's got the arm. I mean, look at the Winter Soldier element to this, so we probably know. But yeah, love to see Misty Knight. If you don't know already, there's one character that I talked about last time I did this, and this is Armor. Armor's a very unusual and as well very cool character that is able to create somewhat of a, well, armor, which is a psionic, yes, similar to Psylocke, psionic exoskeleton armor. Can generate an enormously strong, powerful, and durable and impenetrable. Now they got that, and psionic exoskeleton armor around her entire physical body. Pretty cool. Love to see that in game. Love to see what the applications could be to various different things. Could it be indestructible for a limited time, only similar to Luke Cage? Maybe, possibly. But at the same time, she will get weakness. The durability is going to be kind of important, and as well, it's good to have a Japanese character. I don't know how big the game could be kind of put into the Japanese market, but we would be really good to kind of do a Japanese-based character. Also, I'm still a little bit annoyed about the Omega Sentinel side of things and not seeing that character being kind of represented in game in the future. But if Kabam said they're going to put it in the future, then at least it's on the list to be done. And now we're moving into the final two. One of these has got to be Daikon. As a lot of you know, I'm a massive Wolverine fan, and again, to be like perfectly frank, I'm a little bit annoyed about the way that Weapon X has been put in too much of a trophy champion, and there's not been more of an allocation to get him from crystals and stuff, and at least for people to have a bit of a crack. I understand you've got to put trophy champions in game, and I understand that's something to kind of like dangle the carrot for those endgame players and those speedrunners. But what about the average Joe, Kabam? Do you not care about the average Joe? In any case, Daikon is a character I'd love to see. I think Marvel Realm are going to do something with this at a guess, but This is a very different type of take on the Wolverine. You can see with the bone claws, we've got a claw there that's underneath. You've got 2 claws that go over the top, similar to Wolverine, but very different in any case with the other type of bone. So this is a Wolverine son, and at the same time very tragic with he's alive and then he's dead. Yes, it's simple as that. Daikon's very different as well. He has a bit more of a different take on the world. Mentally, not as strong as Wolverine. Wolverine's a very much kind of like open and shut case, and he's very surly, he's very stern, and yeah, not really in touch with his emotions. And when he is, he goes a bit nuts. But yeah, Daikon's very different as well. His mental health is somewhat of a thing I think a lot of people resonate with the character, and as well his motives, his motivations and stuff like that. And at times his mental capacity can be inhibited, can inhibit his abilities to regen, which I think is a very nice, very kind of like worldly touch, and especially now would be kind of good to see a character like this in game. Very ferocious. And as well, very cool. I don't know if Kaban would put him in this kind of appearance, but it would be nice to kind of like see it in this. But yeah, the suit version, because he has a similar suit to Wolverine, would be good. But I think it'd be great for people to see the character like this in the kind of a very Japanese tribal-ish type outfit as well. With the tattoo, I mean, the kind of, well, tribalish tattoo. I don't know if it's Japanese tribalish tattoo. Just with the tattoo then, and the kind of Last of the Mohawks type vibe as well. The final character that I would love to see put into Marvel Contest of Champions in 2021 would be Captain Britain. It's always been something that I'd like to see, a bit of like national pride, and I don't know if Kaban would be into that inclination to actually put in a character like this. But yeah, it just would be nice to see. Like, it really would. There's a lot of stuff with this character, the backstory with Avalon, the way that Merlin plays a part, and as well there's been a special kind of mystical amulet which helps Captain Britain get his powers that I like. I think it's quite good. As someone that lived in Somerset, I was born in Somerset, there's always been this tie to Glastonbury, Avalon, and as well Merlin and the King Arthur and Knights of the Round Table. So it's always been like a nice historical thing. Several movies have tied into it, even though Transformers, The Last Knight, oh no, I didn't appreciate that story too much. The Hellboy one I thought was pretty cool. That was a nice nod, and occasionally Hollywood does do this little nod to that particular story arc, but not in any kind of great detail that I would go, hey, I'm proud to see the stuff all about my local area that's got Avalon, Glastonbury Tour. People might be familiar with Glastonbury's festival, but also there's a place called Glastonbury Tour, and they talk about the portal to Avalon, where it's where King Arthur's like in the afterlife and heaven and stuff like that. Anyway, there's a lot to that story that meets the eye. It's just that it links well with Captain Britain, and this is one of the first times I've seen any kind of like story which I've been like, okay, it's cool, I resonate with this, and I think that it's kind of like, it's cool. But yeah, a champion that would be able to do a lot of damage, similar to Captain America, not so much. The main thing about the character, as said here, the interdimensional energy conduit. His abilities are powered by interdimensional energies which are concentrated around the British Isles of each reality. Also in Otherworld, moving too far away from the field will cause eventual power loss unless power enhancing costume is worn. After being lost in time stream for a while, Brian briefly had precognitive flashes, though these eventually abated for a time. So there's a lot to this as well, like the Amulet of Right. There's a lot of power, yeah, that draws from this character, from strength, from flight, and whether or not that would be something, I don't know. I kind of feel like this is more of a British version of Guardian. I'd like to say that the Captain Britain came first, but I think Guardian came first off the top of my head, but that's the thing. I just would like to see this character. I think it would be quite a cool character to have in game. A little bit of energy projection. So yeah, I think it's just like a British Guardian, as well as Guardian is a Canadian Captain America that can fly. That's tech. This one would be Mystic. That's the biggest thing here. This would be Mystic. But yeah, that has been my top picks of champions, I hope, for 2021. But in any case, what are your top champions that you'd love to see in game in 2021? Put them down in the comment section. Doesn't matter if they're weird, it doesn't matter if they're kooky, they're your champions that you'd love to see. If there's a good reason as to why and why you particularly like to see them, put it down in the comment section. And I hope you get your champion in 2021. Happy New Year to everybody. I wish you all the luck, safety, health and prosperity for the coming year, and hopefully we grow this channel as well to new heights, and as well yeah, thank you so much for this year, and see you all soon. Bye bye.